Hi, I'm certified nutritionist Mira Calton.
And I'm Dr. Jason Calton, and welcome to Calton Nutrition Television and our show In Depth, where we bring you face-to-face with the leaders, visionaries, and innovators changing the world. And we have a great show for you today.
Absolutely.
We have and actually a personal friend of ours. His name is Dr. John Demartini. Now, Dr. John Demartini is considered one of the world's leading authority on human behavior and personal empowerment. He is the author of over 40 books. He's had those books translated into 29 different languages.
Incredible in and of itself.
He was also one of the featured specialists in the book The Secret. So you may know him from there, and I'm sure many of you are probably familiar with his work. But this is our opportunity to really bring someone who we consider to be a true visionary right face-to-face with you so that we can learn about his teachings and especially his new book, The Values Factor. Welcome to the show, John.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now, you travel, like, how many days a year are you on the road?
I have to say I'm full-time. I just constantly move from city. I'm a homeless guy, just living around on a mobile home, as you know.
I think it's a little more glamorous than that, and you're doing amazing work while you're doing it, but it's something that obviously you really, really love. So you're living this life of something that's really, really meaningful to you. Now, is everyone capable of finding that sort of meaningful existence for themselves?
Well, I believe that everybody has the capacity to do something extraordinary with their life. As I've spoken around the world, I'm convinced that people truly want to make a difference. And they want to do something meaningful, something inspiring. And I really believe that if they follow principles and methods that have stood the test of time, they can help people live self-actualized lives, that they can. It's not easy. There's work involved, but there's a way of doing it, and if a person applies the principles that stand the test of time, they can do it too. But there's work involved, so I don't want to give them a fantasy. I don't want to give them this illusion that it's just going to be overnight. That's like trying to get wealthy overnight. But if you methodically apply principles that stand the test of time, you can definitely make that a possibility in your life.
So we want to make this a really jam-packed period here for our people to learn some really great tools. So if you could give them some just tools that they could start with today to get on that path that you're on, and that what you teach everybody else through your teachings, like what could they do today to make that first step?
Well, every human being lives by a set of priorities, a set of values, things that are most important to least important in their life. And this set of values is completely unique to them. It's like a fingerprint. And the second they set goals that are aligned and congruent with what's truly valuable to them, they have the highest probability of achievement. They have the highest degree of resiliency and adaptability to a changing environment. They have the highest probability of being inspired, and they increase their certainty level and their leadership level. So the second they identify what's really meaningful to them and not subordinate to the influences of the people around them or the authorities or the social pressures, and really be true to themselves of what's really meaningful to them, and set sail as master of their fate and captain of their ship in that direction, they've just increased the probability of being a master of their life, not a victim of their history.
Right.
So the first thing I say is to identify what's really, really, truly important and not make up stuff. But really look at what your life demonstrates as truly important and start prioritizing your life and organizing your life and setting goals around that. That's the first step. Getting clear about what it is you want to dedicate your life to.
And that in itself, what I would think is a lot of work to get that sort of clarity about what your motivations and your passions are.
Well, that's true, but our life demonstrates it. Because what our life demonstrates is what we do. Our values, every decision that we make is based on what we believe will give the greatest advantage or disadvantage, greatest reward of a risk at any moment in time according to what's really valuable to us. So our life is demonstrating these values daily. So instead of subordinating to outer influences and trying to be somebody we're not, as Emerson said, envy is ignorance and imitation is suicide. And the second you set goals that are really truly yours, you're on your way. But you're looking at what your life demonstrates. Look at how you fill your space. Because you always fill your space with things that are important and you get rid of stuff in your space that's not. You look at how you really spend your time and what you make time for and things you don't have time for, and prioritize things. You look at where you spend your energy and what you gain energy, because when you have doing something you love to do, you have more energy at the end of the day than when you started. You look at where you spend your money, because you always find money for things that are valuable to you, and you run out of money for things that aren't. You look at where you're most ordered and organized, because you tend to bring order to things that are valuable to you. You look at where you're disciplined and reliable, that nobody has to remind you or motivate you to do it. You look at what you think about, what you visualize, and what you talk to yourself about most that is coming true in your life. You look at what you converse with other people about most. You look at what inspires you. You look at what has been consistent, persistent goals that are coming true. And you look at what you love to learn about. And if you put these value determinants in place and summarize them, it helps you define what it is that you want to build your life around. On my website, withDr, if they go on the menu on the left side, there's a free download. All you have to do is hit value determination and hit that, and a menu will come up. And there's a free download on how to help a person determine what's really important and not be swayed by influences on the outside. Because the second you set a goal that's not yours, you self-defeat. You have to set a goal that's from your heart, that's true. I mean, you both are dedicated to nutrition and changing the world and making a difference in people's lives. Your life's demonstrating that. Since I've known you, okay, so it'd be like me, my mind's teaching. I've been dedicated to teaching for 42 years. If I started to set a goal, I would now want to open up a daycare center where I do cooking. That's just not me.
Right.
So the probability of me doing that is like really low. But the second I set a goal to go, okay, I dedicate my life to teaching and researching and helping people maximize their life and help be fulfilled in life, man, I can't wait to get up in the morning and do it.
Right.
So when you set a goal that's truly yours, you can't wait to get up in the morning and do it, people can't wait to get your service.
Yeah. Well, you know, Mira and I are so inspired with your teachings, and I think a lot of people right now might be finding themselves in a situation where they've been setting goals to become healthier, maybe setting goals to be able to lose that few pounds or being able to get over some health condition that may be plaguing them. You know, you talk a lot about living a congruent life, and you help people to, you know, have financial benefit and help in their relationships, but can what you teach really help people understand how to live a truly optimal life when it comes to health and wellness?
Well, there's no doubt. I just got blessed to be in a new movie called Overfed and Undernourished, which I think is going to spread quite well nice. And as you know, I mean, this is your expertise. You know that there's missing nutrients. You know there's naked calories. You know that there's not quality nutrition out there. You know that. That's why you dedicated your life to make that difference.
Right.
You know that people, as a result of it, are starving on the inside but overeating on the outside.
Yeah.
And you know that that's not helping their metabolism. But from a psychological perspective, whenever we're doing something that's not meaningful to us, we stuff ourselves with consumerism and overeat unquality foods for immediate gratification to compensate. Right. Our body is trying to give us feedback and trying to let us know when we are authentic and when we're not. And if we end up setting goals that are really important to us and are higher priority, we tend to eat wisely. We tend to take care of ourselves because we value ourselves.
Yeah.
Right. Most people know that if they have a very important date or a very important meeting or something that's really crucial coming up in the next day or so, they're going to eat better. They're going to make sure that they don't overeat. They're going to make sure that they got their life together before that meeting. So if you fill your day with things that are meaningful, that are priority, that are really important in your life, you will tend to have more discipline and reliability as far as nutrition and health procedures in your life than if you are just sitting there unfulfilled in your life, because you're vulnerable to the amygdala area of the brain instead of the prefrontal cortex when you're not fulfilled in life. And you tend to not eat as wisely, and you tend to overlook obvious feedback from your physiology. Our body is doing what it can, and our brain is doing what it can to help us live authentic lives and inspired lives. But we're ignoring it, and we've lost the talent to listen to what it's trying to guide us to do.
Right. Absolutely. We always tell our clients when we used to see private clients, when they used to come to us, like it'd be like, I'm just failing, and my husband's not letting me do it, and this and the other excuse, and before you know it, we just look at them and be like, you're not ready. You don't really want this bad enough. And that's what it comes down to. That wasn't necessarily their goal. They didn't realize that's their important thing yet. And it's not until somebody makes it that important that they're actually going to achieve it. So this is a really good take-home for people. Make health be something that you realize is important. Think about yourself in 10 years and think about the goals that you have for yourself. And if you won't be able to achieve those goals on the path that you're on right now, then maybe it really is time to change that path and to start to get healthy and to put that as a priority in your life.
Right. I mean, I think, Dr. Demartini brings up great points. You got to say, one of the things you say, John, is that there's people who have these ideas, yet they're not doing them. They know what they should be doing, but they're still not doing them. So, I think that by utilizing what you talk about in the values factor, you'll be able to actually teach people how to overcome this, right? You teach them to, one, set a goal, and then two, to align it with what's most important to you. And maybe, and for these people who have been trying to lose weight and trying to kind of reverse their health conditions, possibly they just haven't aligned what's important to them with their goal. Is that correct?
Very commonly. I always say that unless you have a big enough reason for doing something, you probably won't. And if the big enough reason is not bigger than alternative reasons, you'll do the other things.
Right.
Can I share a story with you of a lady that I worked with that was trying to lose weight?
Please do.
This is a little bit of extreme, but it was interesting. I was asked to do a reality TV show in Hollywood, in Universal Studios, and there was a lady there that they picked. They picked a number of very interesting cases that I had 2 hours to change their life in. So I only had 2 hours to do it. So in walks this woman who was quite obese, and she brought in a box of food that is probably more food than I would eat in a week. And she started grazing it. And she told me, "Oh, you got to stop this. It's killing me. Look at me. I'm overweight. Look at me. I just can't." And she just eats. She says, "I got to stop this. It's killing me. Look at this. Look at how it's running my life and everything else." And so the first thing I asked her when we did this 2-hour session is, "What are the benefits you're getting out of doing this?" She says, "No benefits. It's killing me. Look at me. It's doing it." I said, "But you wouldn't be doing it if you didn't get benefits. You obviously have an unconscious motive to do this.
Right.
What benefits are you getting out there?" And she looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, "You wouldn't do this. You would be doing something different if there was a better advantage somewhere else. So what's the benefit of getting this?" She says, "I can't think of anything." I said, "Look again." And then finally she said, "Everybody in my family is overweight, obese." And she started to get teary-eyed. She says, "I wouldn't be part of my family if I wasn't."
Mm.
That was one motive we found. The second was her big sister pushed her around and used to beat her up when she was a child. And she swore when she was young she would never, ever be pushed around by her sister again. So she always made sure she was bigger than her sister.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The third thing we found, this is quite outrageous, but this was tear-jerking for her. She went on this crash diet and lost this weight nearly fasting, which, as you know, can create a roller coaster.
Right.
And it's not wise ultimately. It's better to do gradual transformations and eat quality nutrition over time than it is to do this drastic thing.
Right.
But she ended up losing all this weight and actually started getting a shape for the first time in her life. And a guy hit on her, and the guy was interested in her. And she had never had anybody really interested in her. So she thought, "Oh my God, I'm in love. I finally got the man of my life." And she ends up making love with this man and getting pregnant. Never to be heard by the guy again. He disappeared the next day. So now she's in a conundrum where she thought she was in love with somebody. She was illusioned by an infatuation. Now she's pregnant. Now she's caught in this paradox. Oh my God, what do I do? She's got a religious background that says one thing. She's got a life that says, "I don't want to do this, have a baby with somebody I don't even know." So she was caught in this thing, and she ended up having the baby not make it. In the process of doing it, she swore, "I would never do that again in my life." So she protected herself from never losing weight for the third one. The fourth one was, every time she would try to lose weight, her skin would sag. And then people would come, "Oh, you sick?" And then she didn't want to do that. And then she found out that people said, "Oh, you have such beautiful skin and everything else." She says, "As long as I eat, it keeps so taut that it's smooth. If I lose weight, it doesn't." So when we found out, we found 75 reasons why she was not going to lose weight. And she looked at me, she says, "As long as these are there, unless I can change these behaviors and these thinking, these underlying unconscious motives based on my real values are going to make sure I never lose weight." I said, "Exactly."
Yeah.
So we've come up with a viable alternative way of getting these same benefits without having to eat to get those same benefits, which is a big project to do. But so the values are making decisions, and we sometimes have unconscious motives, as Carl Jung would describe, driving our behaviors without even knowing about it. And until we bring the unconscious conscious, we sometimes are just going up against, spitting in the wind, if you will, and watching it come back at us. So the values factor is huge in identifying why people do what they do. And if they don't link the alternative, eating wisely, keeping their weight managed, and keeping their lifestyle and their exercise program in shape, and eating quality foods and quality nutrients and supplementing and things, if they're not going to do what's wise and it's not higher on their values, they're going to keep doing what they're doing. So they do stack up the reasons and benefits of doing wise things and have it exceed the alternatives until they won't make a change otherwise.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. Like, you have to obviously bring this to the forefront of someone's mind in order to make this change. The first step was obviously to figure out what your values are, and you explained that you give them very definite tools to figure out what those values are. And it's values in your relationships, and your money, and across the board. You have these values, right?
Yes. Well, each person has a set of values, and they're determining every decision they make is based on what they believe will give them the greatest advantage over disadvantage, greatest reward over risk. Okay. So once you identify what those values are, you can see why people make the decisions they do. And once they do, then they can go. They have two choices. There's only two ways you can really have fulfillment in life. You can either set a goal that matches your values and have fulfillment, or you can transform your values to match the goals you say you want. Mm-hmm. I mean, I ask people, how many of you want to be financially independent? And everybody puts their hand up. But less than 1% obtain it.
Right.
1%. 0.312% in the United States become financially independent. So that means that 99% of the people live in a fantasy about their finances and think, oh my God, I'm going to be financially wealthy somehow. And all they do is fantasize about the lifestyle instead of actually saving and investing their money and using it wisely. So as long as they don't have the value on saving and investing and building wealth, and they keep having a value on consumerism and buying depreciables and consumables, etc., they're not going to be wealthy.
So find the value and then live every day and keep it in your forefront of your mind that these are your values and you're moving towards them. Do you give them like steps to actually staying on path?
Well, they automatically, once they know what their values are and they're setting goals that match it, they don't need to be reminded.
Okay.
It's when they're setting goals that aren't matching them that they need outside motivation. So you're inspired from within to do what's highest on your value, but you need extrinsically motivation from the outside to do things that aren't. So if you're needing motivation and incentives and reminders to do what you say is important, what you say is important isn't what's really important.
So what are some signs that you're actually living by those values? How does somebody know if they're actually doing that? How can somebody be like faced with another being realistic about their values?
They're grateful. They're grateful. Their heart is open to life. They say thank you to themselves. They look in the mirror and say thank you. There's what I call, anytime you set a goal that's not congruent with your highest values, you're going to have what I call the ABCDs of negativity as a result. You're going to have internal anger and aggression. You're going to blame yourself and feel like you betrayed yourself. You're going to have internal criticism and challenge. You're going to feel despaired and depressed. These ABCDs of negativity are symptoms of setting goals that don't match what's true. So if you're having those feelings, what you're thinking is important isn't what's really important. And what your life is demonstrating is showing you what's really important. And what you keep fantasizing is what's a fantasy. And you have to make a distinguish between unrealistic expectations and fantasies and real stuff.
You should be excited about what you're doing. That naturally what you're doing.
When you're doing something you love to do, look, when you start thinking about it, I mean, I don't know everything about your personal life, but I'd be willing to bet. I'd be willing to bet.
I've traveled with you, and I don't think you know everything.
Yeah, but wait a minute. I'd be willing to bet that at night you guys talk about nutrition and health and things of that nature. You know, when I sit there, my girlfriend says that I have in the middle of the night, I talk about seminars, you know. I mean, that's just who I am.
Right.
So you probably want to talk about what's important to you. That's a sign. Yeah. So if you're not inspired by what you're doing every day, what you're doing every day isn't what's really valuable to you.
Yeah. Well, obviously, both of us, Mira and I and yourself, have been really blessed to live that inspired life. And, you know, I see a lot of symbiosis between what you're teaching people and what, of course, a lot of the people who work with us at Calton Nutrition are going through. You know, they haven't necessarily set their values correctly. And what I really want them to do, and if you're watching and listening right now, I want you to go out and get a copy of the Values Factor, and I want you to start to put the steps that John talks about in the book into your life. Because like he said, you're never going to, we can teach you the importance of micronutrients. We can teach you exactly what to eat. We can teach you how to exercise. We can teach you how to find quality foods in the grocery store. But if you continue to put those things off and you skip taking your nutrients and you don't buy the quality foods at the store and you make excuses in your life, then that's a great sign that you're probably not living your life congruently. You haven't set those goals. You haven't really identified those values in your life, and you probably have a very low likelihood of achieving your goal, especially if you failed in the past. And this is something that we can do, and it's a great tool that we can use so that we can start to live that a congruent life, and we can start to achieve our goals.
Absolutely. You said it perfectly. Can I share another story? It's an interesting story.
Please.
Yeah.
Many years ago, I had a woman, they wheeled in a wheelchair into my office. And she had diabetes. And she had ulcers in her legs. Her eyes were starting to go blind. She had some breaking down of tissues. And she was, getting up in age. Well, at the time it seemed up in age. Now it's modern age now. But so she comes in, and an African woman wheeled her in. It was her personal nurse. And I did my evaluation of her. I did my examination. I looked over all her findings, and I did a report of findings to her a few days later when I had her come back. And I told her that if she will do exactly what I tell her, to the letter, that I really believe I would be able to help this woman, help her. I mean, I was very sincere. I'd helped a lot of people, nutritionally changed it, moving and getting her to move and exercise again, and all these other things that she was just slacking off on. And I knew that if she was to follow the regime, the letter, her life would change.
Right.
She looked me in the face, and she just said, Dr. Demartini, you're shocked. She says, you're the first doctor that's told me that I could do something. Most of the doctors told me that I will live with it, I'll be taking insulin, I'll deteriorate, this is what you can expect. You're the first person that's ever told me that I have something I could do and I could change my life. She says, and you know what, I believe you. But it frightens me. And I said, why? And she says, if I do everything you say, I just might have that lady who's out there with me, who's been living with me for 8 years, not be part of my life. She's the most important person in my life. She is like my sister, my daughter, my mother. She's my family. If all of a sudden I get up out of this wheelchair and I walk again and I do things again and I eat well again and I get my life back together, I lose the most important person in my life.
Yeah.
Because Dr. Demartini, I have to think about this, but I'm not ready for this. And that really woke me up to realize that people, even though they say things, their actions speak louder than their words. And I'm always interested in what their actions say, not their words, because their actions are dictated by their values. Their words are sometimes dictated by social idealisms and expectations of what they want deep inside. Yeah. That was a real eye-opener to me. So all I can say is that I can't think of anything greater. There's no unrealistic expectation or fantasy you can ever impose on yourself that's going to compare with who you are. The real, authentic you is the most magnificent you you'll ever be. That's where the power is. That's where you actually accomplish the most. That's when you have the most gratitude and a feeling of achievement. So identifying what is really, truly important to you and not let the world dictate that. You know, I said in The Secret, when the voice and the vision on the inside is louder than all opinions on the outside, you begin to master your life.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's why I wrote the Genius Factor. That's what it's for.
Yeah, I was going to say it's really hard in this day and age because there's so much clouding us. I mean, this is a day and age where it's not just the television, the radio, your friends, your family. There's just, we all have this toxic overload of communication, and with so many things hitting us in every single direction, it's really hard to quiet that down and to really figure out what your own path is sometimes. I mean, I know, even for myself, there's days where I'm probably not very in tune. And I'll find myself doing something and be like, that is so not authentic to me. I have to, I'm really not even that happy doing this. I don't want to be doing this. And then you have to, steer yourselves back. And no one's saying that those days aren't going to happen. We're not saying that, perfection is the absolute goal. We're just saying is just to be aware so you do know how to steer yourself back and you figure out who the authentic you is.
Yeah, it's another tool that we can use. So it's another tool that we can use in order to help us to achieve our goals in life, whether it's we're looking for, financial benefit, whether we're looking for help in our relationships or whether we're working to achieve, health and wellness in our lives. This is I think it's a tool that every single person listening right now can utilize. And I mean, I'm completely inspired listening to you. I love the stories. And of course, as people go through the book, you're going to outline all these things. They're going to expand. They're going to become empowered. They're going to start to live that congruent life. And I just can't think of anything more important in our lives than to start down that pathway, especially if we're one of these people who, you call us, you email us, and you found yourself kind of floundering. You're doing everything right, but you've got one of these roadblocks in your way. And like you said, John, like this woman who initially you asked, what,
didn't know what it was.
Why are you eating this food? She's like, I don't have a reason. Well, if you sit down and you go through the steps that you outline in the book, you're going to find that reason. And that's maybe one of the most important things, is you've got to know why it is that you keep sabotaging yourself. And I think the values factor is an excellent way that people are going to be able to get over that roadblock.
But I learned a long time ago, and it doesn't take a genius to see this when we open our eyes and look at our life, that if you don't fill your day with things that are inspiring, high priority things in life, it fills up with things that aren't inspiring. I was told when I was 4 years old by a little lady that lived next door, who had a beautiful garden in the backyard. She saw me pulling weeds around the house, and I had a job to pull the weeds and keep it from going up into the house. And she leaned across the fence. She was 84 years old. She leaned across the fence. She says, John, if you don't plant flowers in the garden, you're going to forever pull weeds. And I didn't really understand that. I mean, she was helping me write a best-selling book at the time, but I was only 4. But what she was saying is that if you don't plant flowers in the garden of your mind, you're going to pull weeds. If you don't fill your day with things that are inspiring to you, that are meaningful to you, that are truly important to you, your day is going to fill up with entropy and breakdown with things that aren't inspiring. And so the best way to grow your self-worth, the best way to grow your own mastery, the greatest way to feel worthy enough to have a great life and to have a great well-being and health and well-being is to live according to what's truly valuable to you and prioritize that. That doesn't mean you don't think of other people and you don't care and you don't serve. It's not a narcissistic pursuit. It's just people who are doing things that are meaningful to them feel confident enough to go out and serve people. They love bringing what they have to offer out to other people and serve people.
Yeah.
So this fulfillment is when you're serving people and doing what you love and getting handsomely paid to do it is on the icing on top. And I believe that people deserve to do what they love and love what they do and have their vocation or vacation. Most people have Monday morning blues, Wednesday hump days, thank God it's Fridays, and week friggin' ends. They're not inspired by their life.
Yeah.
The second they set priorities, the second they delegate low priorities, and the second they give themselves permission to do something that is meaningful to them, doors of opportunity open up to them. They synchronize people, places, things, ideas, and events to give themselves a new life. Man, that's what inspires me, is watching that happen.
People say to us all the time, well, it's going to be the weekend. Should you guys be going out and doing something else? And I'm like, if we went and did something else, we're still going to be talking about nutrition. Like, it doesn't really matter. This is what we do. This is what makes us, us, and what we enjoy doing so much. So.
Well, I'm the same way. I can't think of anything else. I've been 42 years. I've been researching every day and writing. I'm the kind of guy that I know this is going to sound strange, but the second I'm through with lovemaking, I get my book out. So pardon me for being bizarre about it, but
no, we're not, and we know that.
Yeah.
Who you're with, we know Lawrence does. Yeah. So it's kind of like,
I love my research, I love my writing, I love my traveling, and I love my teaching. So I learned years ago. I had the opportunity to speak to Mary Kay from Mary Kay Cosmetics, Mary Kay Ash, beautiful woman, Dallas, Texas. I'm speaking at the Anatole, and afterwards I go up and I chat with her, and I ask her, because I was in my late 20s, early 30s. And I said, what advice can you give a young man who aspires to go and travel the world and teach? And she said, every day, young man, sit down and write down the 6 or 7 highest priority action steps you can do today that can help you fulfill your dreams. And then go get them done. And don't put too many down or you'll feel a goal overrun. You'll feel overwhelmed and you never get things done. Just 6 or 7, get them done. If you get them done before halfway through the day, add another couple too. Get them done, but don't overdo it. And so I started doing that, and I kept record of everything that was the highest priority action I could do each day. I kept them on index cards. After a couple of years of doing this every day, I then looked at what were the common things to all of them over the last couple of years. And it came out, research, write, travel, teach. So then I made a commitment that I was going to delegate everything off my plate, and I was going to do what was most meaningful, most inspiring to me, and dedicate my life to that, and let go of the other stuff. It took me 3 years to shed the other things. I mean, I haven't written a check in 30-something years. I don't drive for 24 years. I don't do anything else except research, write, travel, teach, and of course I kiss my girlfriend.
Well, and we can attest to that as well, yes.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a good thing. Like, delegate. A lot of people think that it's weak to delegate, but it really is one of those things that once you clear your life of garbage, you got room for what's important.
That's it. It doesn't cost to delegate if it's done properly. You just got to delegate to somebody who loves doing what you don't want to do.
Right.
And they're inspired to do it.
There are people who love doing the day-to-day, you know, there's personal assistants, there's all these people who need jobs and love doing these things.
That's it. So
Someone wants to walk your dog. Someone wants to do everything.
I research, write, travel, teach today. But everybody's different. Some people have a different life. You have to be true to you. I had a woman in Sydney, Australia, who came up to me, and she said, Dr. Demartini, she says, I feel so bad. I don't know what I want to dedicate my life to. I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what's important to me. And I looked at her straight in the eye and I said, bullshit. That's not true. I said, I'll call a spade a spade. You have it in your heart. Your life is demonstrating it. What does your life demonstrate you do every day spontaneously that nobody has to remind you to do, that you do every single day? Just I take care of my kids. I said, is that what you love doing? She says, I've always loved doing it. That's the highest thing that's most important to me. I said, where's this idea that you don't know what you want to do? She says, well, I think I should be running this business. I think I should be doing this. I think I ought to be doing that. Those are all imperative languages from friends and other people who are subordinating to and admiring and stuff. What is about you?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, all I've wanted to do is raise children. I said, then give yourself permission to raise a beautiful family. Rose Kennedy, I had her mission statement. I actually had her original mission statement that she wrote in a book that I got a copy of from the Kennedy family. And it said, I dedicate my life to raising a family of world leaders. Mm. Her mission was raising a beautiful family. And that is just as profound a mission as running a business, doing a social cause, being a president, being a superstar, a model, whatever it is. You got to give yourself permission to be true to yourself. And if it is raising a family, then give yourself permission to be one of the greatest mothers or fathers on the planet. Whatever it is, it's meaningful to you, be that person. And don't try to compare yourself to somebody else. We're not here to compare ourselves to other people. We're here to compare ourselves, our own actions to our own dreams.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Inspiring words and profound words. So, John, if people want to see more of you, now we have people watching and listening from all over the world. I think you said you're off to Australia tomorrow?
I'll be, no, and Monday I'm in Australia. I'm here doing my Great to Experience program for the weekend in Phoenix. And then Monday I'm off to Australia for a tour, 6 cities.
And there's got to be a place that has all of your schedule because people won't know what date. A lot of people will be watching this in a month from now. So where can they find out your exact schedule to see if you're in the city?
The best thing to do is to go to drdemartini.com. DRDEMARTINI. drdemartini.com.
Yep.
And they can find out where I am before I will.
Because that's somebody else's job.
I get this little thing every single day. It tells me what I'm going to do. I've hired women to tell me what to do. I found that's the smartest thing to do.
I have the exact same thing. Mira gives me my rundown about 5:30 in the morning, and that's what I do.
This is what you're to do, and this is how you do it, when you do it, and everything else. I go, I'm fulfilled in my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Happy man.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on In Depth.
Yeah. Inspiring our tribe here, our fans. I'm sure they're going to find what you said to be completely as inspirational as we do.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that a lot of people are going to be following up, and we want to hear from you guys who are watching. If you guys want to make some comments on our Facebook page, I want to know what your values are. Mm-hmm. What really makes you the happiest every single day? And maybe what did you learn about yourself, how you're blocking your values from becoming realities?
Yeah, we want to see you guys go. Make sure you go to drdemartini.com.
We'll put a link down, right?
We'll put a link. Check out the Values Factor. And just thank you again, John, for joining us. It was
too long
incredible. It really has been. And I know the work that you're doing in the world is really visionary. It is changing the world. And so thank you again.
Thank you, and appreciate the challenge of the technical difficulties, but thank you for the opportunity. Whoever's listening out there, no matter what you've done or not done, you're worthy of love, and you deserve to have an amazing life.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you again.
Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and we'll see you next time here on In Depth.